welcome to iNurture videos. In this video, we will discuss the different types of shares. At the end of this video, you will be able to explain the different types of shares. Jane, a new recruit in a multinational management firm, is placed in the sales and debentures department. As she is new to the department, her senior Mr. Jason helps her to understand the key concepts of shares and the different types of shares. The total capital of a company can be divided into units of a fixed denomination, which is referred to as share. Shares are units of ownership interest in a corporation or financial asset that provide for an equal distribution in any profits, if any are declared, in the form of dividends. Share is a fractional part of the company's share capital, which indicates certain rights and liabilities. A company's shares can be divided into two basic types. They are preference shares and equity shares. First, let's understand preference shares in detail. Shares which focus on certain preferential rights over other types of shares are known as preference shares. A preferential right to get a fixed rate of dividend during the life of the company is the first right. Next is a preferential right to the return of share capital at the time of winding up of the company. When a company goes into liquidation, the surplus assets should be first used for returning the share capital contributed by the preference shareholders. Preference shares are further classified into the following types: cumulative shares, non-cumulative shares, participating shares, non-participating shares, convertible shares, non-convertible shares, redeemable shares, and non-redeemable shares. Cumulative preference shares. In this type, if the dividend is not declared because of inadequate profit, the right to dividend for that year does not lapse. Preference shares are generally cumulative shares unless the contrary is expressly stated in the Articles of Association. Non-cumulative preference shares. In this type, if the dividend is not paid in any particular year, it lapses. In non-cumulative preference shares, dividend is not allowed to accumulate, and such unpaid dividend will not be paid in subsequent years despite earning sufficient profits. Participating preference shares. This type of shares carry a further right to participate with the equity shareholders in the surplus profits which remain after paying a certain rate of dividend to equity shareholders. Non-participating preference shares. These shares are entitled to only a fixed rate of dividend and do not participate either in surplus or in the assets. In this type, the entire surplus is taken by the equity shareholders. Convertible preference shares. In this type, the shares entitle their shareholders to convert their preference shares into equity shares within a specific period. Non-convertible preference shares. When preference shares cannot be converted into equity shares, they are known as non-convertible preference shares. Once issued as preference shares, they continue to remain so throughout the lifetime of the company without any change in their characteristics. Redeemable preference shares. Redeemable shares is defined as shares wherein the capital raised by means of these shares can be returned after a specific period or at a time after issuing a notice as per terms of issue. These shares can be redeemed if they are fully paid up. Non-redeemable preference shares. Preference shares which cannot be redeemed during the lifetime of the company are known as non-redeemable preference shares. Now, let's understand equity shares in detail. Shares which do not fall under the category of preference shares are known as equity shares. Also known as ordinary shares, these shares are entitled to get dividend only after the fixed rate of dividend is paid to preference shareholders. Equity shares are paid to the shareholders only after returning preference share capital in full and if there is any surplus. Let's have a quick recap on what we discussed. The total capital of a company can be divided into units of a fixed denomination, which is referred to as a share. A company's shares can be divided into two basic types. They are preference shares and equity shares. Thank you for watching this video.